Welcome into the NFL opening line report. He's Teddy Covers. I am Drew Martin. Each and every Monday, simulcast live on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We're getting after it, not only where the lines are, but more importantly, where they're going to be by kickoff. Teddy Covers, happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, great to be here, Drew. Sorry, just retweeting as we speak. We appreciate all of you coming in the live chat and joining us. Of course, if you're watching us archived later, we appreciate all the comments, all the likes we can get. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning as we take a look at all the opening lines for the NFL for Week 15.
Yes, sir. Mike Teets teasing the NFL, Robert Rainey, Booga Betts, Davy Jones, all you guys, Jeff, Perfecto, welcome in. Let us know what you're betting and why. And like Teddy said, if you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a comment below on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching via Periscope on Twitter, the likes do help us out. Teddy, before we get to the NFL opening line report, though, we do have a Monday nighter tonight, a good one. Baltimore at Cleveland. We're seeing the Ravens -3 with some juice at most sports books on that. 346 being the total. Any quick thoughts on tonight's Monday nighter?
Yeah, I thought last night there was a decent chance this line was going to go to 3.5. There's been a lot of sharp support for the Baltimore Ravens over the course of the last 24 hours. Doesn't look now like it's going to move off of 3. The books are just going to adjust the juice on 3 based on their own liabilities. Total sitting 45.5, 46. We could see some over money between now and kickoff. That wouldn't shock me. I am in action on this game for Monday Night Football. You can get to play again. It's $9 Monday, so it costs you $9. I don't want to infomercial too much, but if you want to get on board, it's a great opportunity on $9 Monday to see what we can do for you. So, like I said, I'm in action on this game. Browns and the Ravens, Monday Night Football. So you get to play right now at Wager Talk or sportsmemo.com, just $9.
And we got Perfecto saying he lives in Cleveland and it's very windy and cold for tonight's game. So guys, keep that in mind if you're looking to bet the Monday nighter for tonight. Teddy, any quick thoughts on the weather?
So I'm surprised at how much over money we're seeing given the circumstances. I don't know the reports I saw, and given, first of all, we've already seen Cleveland with 3 weather games already this year. I mean, legit weather games where the offense were at all 3 of them, you couldn't throw the ball downfield. So the Browns have been in these spots, but based on my interpretation of the forecast and the markets right now, the markets are certainly not expecting it to be a significant factor. The wind, at least, for tonight's game. The cold is what it is. Cold doesn't depress totals all that much, but wind definitely does. It affects the passing game. The markets are expecting that wind to die down at least somewhat between now and kickoff.
Teddy, I kind of like the Ravens here. Not only do I kind of like them, I bet them -3, -115. I think Baker Mayfield against the better defenses in the NFL, something I'm not looking to bet on. So I kind of like the Ravens in this spot, man.
Sure. Well, look, this is a statement game for Cleveland. All right. Either Cleveland's real or they're not. We'll find out tonight. I've got an opinion as well. Again, $9 on Monday.
Yeah, we got Thursday, December 17th to start off the NFL opening line report here. We got our Las Vegas Raiders right down the road from where I'm talking right now, -3.5 at Allegiant Stadium. Teddy, we're seeing mostly 54.5s being the total. Of course, this is the LA Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders in the Thursday nighter.
So let's doodle you right off the bat.
Doodle you, emergency betting alert.
Sure. And of course, over the course of the show, we're going to have a handful of emergency bet. We call them emergency betting alerts on a Monday morning. The goal is lock in at a line now that's not going to be available later in the week. And this may be that situation. We're seeing nothing but Raiders money from the get-go in this game. There are still 3s out there. You have to lay a little bit of juice. I'm seeing 3 -20 here in Vegas. I'm 3 -25. I'm seeing a 3 -110 at a prominent book here in Vegas. So there are still 3s. I'm not convinced those 3s are going to last. I expect the Raiders to take the money. The look-ahead line was 3.5 on the Raiders. My powering number is only 2.5 on the Raiders. But the markets right now are showing signs they are going to move from 3 to 3.5. And look, the Chargers finally won a close game. You know, now they're 5-16 in games decided by a single score in the Anthony Lynn era. Michael Badgley hit the field goal after Badgley's missed a whole bunch of those. Austin Eckler after the game. We've been struggling in that category, and it feels good. And it wasn't a gimme in terms of that final drive. Justin Herbert's first game-winning drive for the Chargers. They got the ball at their own 26 with 30 seconds left. after another Matt Ryan interception. Look at the Falcons were going to win that game. And then Matt Ryan threw his third pick of the contest. But the injury report for the Chargers after the game was ugly. All right. Keenan Allen wasn't on the field for that final drive. Mike Williams wasn't on the field for that final drive. The starting right side of the offensive line wasn't on the field for that final drive. Don't know if any of those guys are going to be available for this week. We talk about Balaga, and Trey Turner and your two best receivers. It's an issue. And, of course, for all the success the Chargers had yesterday winning the game finally, they still had that complete meltdown before halftime where, again, they left field points in the field after Anthony Lynn's like, I'm taking over the special teams. And it was, I'm not going to swear, but it was every bit as ugly as anything that you've seen in terms of executing play calls before halftime and letting the clock run out. It was very bad. So there's plenty of issue with the Chargers. And the injury report is at least part of the reason why we're seeing the money for the Raiders today. But like that, when I'm watching games, I take notes. My notes for the Raiders. If this offense works, this defense doesn't. Really, just that simple. Pass defense is hopeless. Pass rush is hopeless. CB play is bottom tier. They can only play zone and get burned every time they blitz. That's what I was writing in game. And then after the game, Paul Gunther got relieved of his duties as defense coordinator. Now, Rod Marinelli takes over the job, and he was in his first season as defensive line coach. He's going to be DC the rest of the season. Marinelli's called game plans before. The markets are saying it's not a big deal that the Raiders change DCs at this stage of the season. But, again, it's another 0 sack, 0 takeaway game for the Raiders yesterday. John Gruden, quote, we're in a situation where we had to score a touchdown every time we had the ball, it seemed. You get to a point where you second-guess everything you're doing offensively every time you punt. It's tough right now, but you have to stay confident that your players are going to put it together. This is an interesting quote. Derek Carr, quote, when you need a win against a team you're battling for a playoff spot and you don't get it, it really rips your heart out. That is a concern for me with a favorite, alpha quote like that, playing in a short turnaround Thursday night game.
Sure, Teddy. And they're taking the money, even though they didn't really look that good against Indy. And I know the score, looked a little bit inflated just because of that pick six towards the end. But I'm kind of surprised that the Raiders are taking money.
It's Chargers injury report. Again, the Chargers could be without their top two receivers and the right side of their offensive line. And they, too, are on a short week with travel. So
true. Good points there, Teddy. We got Saturday action here, guys, in the NFL. 2 games on Saturday. Rotation order, so we'll go with the later game first here. Carolina at Green Bay. Teddy, we got 51.5 being the total, with the Packers laying mostly 8.5. There are some -9 out there at Lambeau Field on Saturday night.
Yeah, the look-ahead line, and again, we talk about the look-ahead line. These are bettable lines from last week on the games being played this week, so you can see how much the markets have adjusted off the week 14 showings. And the look-ahead line here was, I'm using the Westgate Superbook numbers, open 9.5 for the Packers. My powering number is only 8 on Green Bay, and right now we're sitting, as you mentioned, 8.5, 9. I mean, you talk about key numbers in the NFL, there are books that will legitimately move from 7.5 just to 9. There's no 8s, there's no 8.5s. They call it a teaser protection line. Books that offer good odds on teasers. Try to make sure that they avoid the positive expectation teasers that you get at 8.5, teasing those favorites down below a field goal. So don't be too concerned if you see a line jump from 7.5 to 9. It doesn't mean it's a whole bunch of money. I mean, the book is protecting themselves off of those teasers. Not seeing any indicator this line is moving a whole lot right now. Certainly the quotes from Green Bay. Again, Green Bay clinched the division. They clinched the division? Yeah, the division, not the playoff spot. Or no, the division and the playoff spot. But yeah. I was like, it was the division that they clinched yesterday. The quotes afterwards were all hungry. Devontae Adams, who's been – remember back in the summer when it was like, oh, the Packers didn't draft a wide receiver. Oh, the Packers are so stupid. Devontae Adams has been just fine. Valdez-Scantling's been just fine. Devontae Adams, quote, we're definitely not done. We've got a lot more work to be put in to get to where we ultimately want to be, but we're putting ourselves in a pretty good position right now. Aaron Rodgers, quote, I thought this was meaningful as well. Okay, he's played in 4 NFC championship games. All of them have been on the road. Green Bay is absolutely targeting that number 1 seed. Quote, to have the whole thing come through Green Bay is something we've talked about. It was always in play, but it's definitely in play now off the Saints' loss yesterday. 2 seasons, 2 division titles for Matt LaFleur. For the Panthers, I mean, they're 0-5 straight up, 0-5 against the spread their last 5 tries as favorites. They had issues with defensive discipline yesterday. They didn't. Jeremy Chin made another huge defensive play. Didn't matter a whole lot. The Panthers lead the NFL in fumble recoveries. You know, night games at Lambeau aren't easy. Bridgewater's done it before. The Panthers are a tough team. I don't expect them to lay down. But at the same time, Green Bay appears to be, I'm not calling them a mission team, but the focus, I expect, will still be there even after clinching the division.
Teddy, we got the afternoon game on Saturday. This one on the NFL Network. Buffalo at Denver. We're seeing the Bills -6, -6.5 point road favorites here. 50 being the total, a mile high.
Yeah, and this one could go up, and this total's already seen signs of going up. I'm not going to officially doodle-oop this, but it's not going to hurt you if you like Buffalo to lock in at the -6 right now. It's not going to hurt you to lock in at over 45, 49.5 right now, 50 now, the prevailing total. You know, this is a Bills team that is thinking much like Green Bay. They're thinking about bigger things. And what's been really impressive for Buffalo, right? The offense has been there. The defense wasn't there early in the season. Defense has been very different over the last couple of weeks. Sean McDermott has put it together. You know, Josh Allen, quote, our defense stepped up big time, especially when we started out the way we did. In yesterday's game offensively, they started out slow. We got a lot of guys that care about each other, and we don't want to let each other down. When we're out there, we put it on the line for each other. That's a positive quote. You know, it really is. When you're talking, saying how serious is Buffalo, you know, how much of a contender are the Bills? The chemistry's there. The coaching's there. You know, McDermott's put something together. That's pretty special. And, of course, the third straight game, the Bills have allowed less than 100 rushing yards. When the Broncos can't rush, I mean, this is a team, you know, they lead most of the NFL giveaway. They had 29 giveaways. And the 29th giveaway came yesterday after another Drew Lock sack fumble. Red zone offense has been struggling. Last in the NFL in red zone rushing yards. But, boy, when Lock doesn't throw picks, they got playmakers on the outside. You know, Vic Fangio, after Lock went had a good day yesterday. Quote, we were more efficient, and 21 of 27 passing is a lot better than what we've been doing. Multiple Broncos yesterday. Garrett Bowles, the left tackle, the tight end Noah Fant, had like a stomach virus. We think it's just a stomach thing. I don't think that's a significant concern moving forward, but both guys did test negative for COVID initially. We'll see how that works moving forward. But it's a Broncos team that has significant issues in the secondary, right? You know, Lock's first no interception day in a full, since the season opener, since he lasted a full game. And yesterday in the secondary, they're playing a rookie in Michael Ojemudia, a player that they released earlier in the season in Devontae Bosby, a player they claimed off waivers last week in Ben Parks, and a player they elevated from the practice squad up and down all year long, Elijah Holder. They're all playing in the secondary yesterday. Denver's got, you know, a whole lot of defensive issues. I'll give Vic Fangio credit. You know, Fangio's not a coach who's gotten a whole lot of love. Denver could look like a bottom feeder this year. They could have looked like Jacksonville. They don't, in large part because Fangio's coached up that defense.
Teddy, moving on to the Sunday card here. December 20th, we got 8 kicks at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll run down them here. Top of the card on Sunday, 3-4-1, 3-4-2, Houston at Indianapolis. We got Indy -7 point favorites at home, 52.5 being the total, Teddy.
Did I give a look-ahead line for Buffalo, Denver? I don't know that I did. Look-ahead line was -5 for the Bills. My powering number is -6, and the market's open -6 on the Bills. When it comes to Houston, we're talking Houston-Indy? Right?
We are talking Houston-Indy, top of the card on Sunday.
Okay, thank you. Look ahead line here was Indy -6.5. My powering number, Indy -7.5. And the markets are sitting at 7 with no sign of moving off that 7 this morning. And look, I mean, the Texans, for as good as Deshaun Watson has been, you know, they literally didn't have a single weapon at wide receiver or running back that they had in week 1. Every single guy. Go back and look at that week 1 box score. Everyone's out. You know, Kiki Kute, Chad Hansen, Steven Mitchell, the top 3 receivers for Houston yesterday. And I'll give Watson credit, 21 of 30 for 219 yards and a touchdown. That was his second lowest yardage total of the season. He took 6 sacks and he was still in the game taking hits down 36-7 in the fourth quarter. I don't know why the coaches do that. I really don't. You don't want your franchise guy in a game that's lost, and Watson was on the field. I don't know if it has an impact for this one. J.J. Watt after the game said it was embarrassing. It's just the facts. Watson, I agree. Texans eliminated from playoff contention. They got a divisional foe here, but there are issues in Houston right now. There are issues in Indy as well. They have offensive line injuries. They had Quentin Nelson going over to play guard yesterday, and then Joey Hunt came in to play guard, and Costanzo was in and out of the game. He was able to return and finish the game, which is a good thing. And, of course, Indy got their sixth non-offensive touchdown of the year yesterday. That's two more than any other team. They had 200 yards on the ground, 200 yards through the air, the highest scoring performance in 3 years under Reich. Quote, it's hard to put up those numbers in this league, but we did it today. We have the personnel to do that. We have the personnel to be dominant in the run game. We have the personnel to be dominant in the pass game. Do have some concerns on defense. Xavier Rhodes and Darius Leonard both banged up in yesterday's ball game, but Indy certainly as the playoff team of these two, much more likely to get betting support this week than Houston will.
I could see that as well today.
Yeah.
We got 347-348 Detroit at Tennessee. Limited marketplace here, but seeing Titans -8.
No, it's not real. There's no lines out. The look ahead line here was 8.5. My powering number is 9.5 if Matthew Stafford doesn't play. 12.5, 13 if he does. The quotes on Stafford, here's the backup, Chase Daniel. He was in a lot of pain. He got bent over backwards and sideways, but that play was the reason we scored on that drive. He's one of the toughest guys and competitors I've ever been with on a team. He was trying to work through everything he was going to try. Stafford ended up in the x-ray room. We'll find out today, quote Darrell Bevel after the game. We'll know more tomorrow, but we all know what kind of a competitor Matthew has been for his whole career. It's going to have to be something drastic to keep him off the field. Even if Stafford does play, he's not likely to be anywhere near 100%. And, of course, I did not like this quote from Darrell Bevel after they lost by a touchdown yesterday. Quote, I'm proud of our team. We fought hard, and we were within one possession at the end. You don't want the coaches that are telling you what a good job he did in the losses, in my opinion. Also worth noting, the Lions played 8 games without Stafford last year. They didn't win any of those ball games. So we'll have to see what happens in that regard. Worth noting with Tennessee, it was Derrick Henry's fourth game with at least 200 yards and 2 scores on the ground. That broke an NFL record held by Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and LaDainian Tomlinson. So those are the names, the records of the guys that Derrick Henry's breaking right now. But this quote from Doug Marrone from the Jags stood out, talking about they were trying to stack the box. Quote, I don't think we can get any more people up there. They were stacking 9 guys in the box, didn't matter against Henry. That could be a problem for the Detroit Lions.
Man, passing LaDainian Tomlinson records there, Teddy. That was he had it going back in the day. So good stuff there. We got New York Jets at the LA Rams. This one a 4:00 Eastern, 1:00 Pacific start. 44.5 being the total, -17. That's the Rams laying at home. Teddy, we got 44 being the total with 17-point favorite in the NFL. You don't see that every day.
You don't, but it speaks to what the Jets are right now. And it speaks to the Rams defense as well. Look headline here was only 13.5. The markets crashed on the Jets yesterday. The Jets had been getting wise guy support, and they didn't get any yesterday. The wise guys were actually on Seattle, and the public was on Seattle, and the books took a bath on that game. My powering number is 16.5. The market's open 16.5 and moved straight to 17 on this game. And, it's a Jets team that is now – they entered the game yesterday with an average loss by 19 points per game on the road, by far the worst in the NFL, and they lost the game by 37. So that average is going to get worse. I didn't see anything that said the Jets were staying out west. That they figured out how to stay out west. It looks like they fly. In fact, I saw something that said they have to fly back out west, which means that they're not even staying out. They're flying back east and then flying back west. The interim defense coordinator, Frank Bush, he didn't call any all-out blitzes yesterday. Marcus May, quote, same call, same scheme. There wasn't anything new. It just comes down to executing. They give up 40 points in that ball game. And it's not like a new defensive coordinator who's going to give you a new coach bounce by any stretch of the imagination. Jets, they're even missing field goals yesterday. 3 field goals missed from inside 45 yards in a single quarter. And, of course, when you're looking at that Rams defense. Interesting quote from Michael Brockers. I want to talk about that. I'm looking for quotes that talk about team chemistry. We got a real positive one from the Bills earlier. Michael Brockman, quote, "You have no fans, you have nothing else. It's all about ball, and you see how connected a team is. Without fans, we're doing a hell of a job continuing to have our energy up. We actually like and love one another." Positive chemistry in LA, no positive chemistry in New York.
I mean, Teddy, we got the New York Jets here, 0-13 straight up, 4-9 against the number. And just looking at outliers for like a betting philosophy here down the stretch of 2020, do you think the New York Jets finish above 500 or below 500 ATS the rest of the way?
Their last 3 games, I mean, I got to look at the schedule. It's all going to be who they're playing and how motivated they're playing. And I mean, the Rams could win this game by 2 touchdowns. They could take a 2-touchdown lead and sit on the ball the rest of the game. I mean, it's not unthinkable for the Jets to be a positive expectation team in their last 3 games, but not with my money. Not with my money.
Teddy, next game up, NFC South rivals here. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. I believe this is their first matchup of the year. They're playing twice in the last 3 games here. We're seeing the Bucs -5 in the hook, road favorites, 50.5 being the total in Mercedes-Benz.
Look ahead line was Tampa -1.5. Okay. Which again tells you where the markets are valuing the Falcons. That was all about, they thought Atlanta was good still. I talked about it with Joe Ranieri on the look ahead line report last week, and that one absolutely stood out. My powering number is Tampa 4.5. The market's opened 4 yesterday. Nothing but Bucks money up to 5.5. I'm not seeing indicators it's going any higher. 5.5 appears to be where it stalled out. Bruce Arians quotes after the game yesterday, where it was easy. The Bucks looked awful early. Tom Brady was missing open receivers for big plays and touchdowns, and there were a whole bunch of plays where the quarterback and the receivers weren't on the same page, which, you don't expect coming out of the bye week. Here's an interesting one. The Bucs lead the NFL in 2nd and 8s this year. No other team has more 2nd and 8s than Tampa Bay, which speaks to their running game not being effective.
Okay.
It really hasn't been. But Arians after the game, quote, "It was huge. We had to do this. It was a big game for us. I was asked early this week about our identity. I think we just showed it. We can do any damn thing we want to." Settle down, Beavis. We
can do anything we want to.
I worry about that quote. I worry about Tampa. That said, Atlanta has issues. They went 9 of 12 on 3rd downs yesterday. They had a full yard per play edge in the ballgame. Every yard, they gained 1 yard on every snap more than the Chargers did. And yet, they finished the game with 17 points. There was a Laquan Treadwell sighting yesterday, a guy who we all remember him coming out of Ole Miss. We're like, man, that guy's going to be a starter. Where'd he go? Whatever happened to Laquan Treadwell?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's in Atlanta, along with Ridley, along with Julio Jones, along with the 40 other great receivers they have, and they just can't score. Ryan's checked out. All right, Matt Ryan is checked out, and it's pretty apparent. The offensive line isn't good. There's a lot of issues with Atlanta right now, and I'm not surprised we've seen Tampa money early today, even though I do have my concerns about the Bucs once the postseason begins.
Going from Atlanta to South Florida here, we got New England at Miami, 41.5 being the total here, Teddy, with the Miami Dolphins -2.5 point favorites in Hard Rock.
Yeah, and I thought about doodle-ooping this total. If you want the under, bet it. Find a 41.5 and bet it now. You can legit. I wouldn't be shocked if this total gets bet down more. There were 3s last night. I put it as a potential doodle-oop, but the 3s are already gone this morning. I didn't think that those were going to last. Look ahead line here was Miami -3. My powering number is Miami -3.5. But the Dolphins have some significant injury concerns on the offensive side of the football. All over the place. They lost Jakeem Grant yesterday. They lost Devontae Parker yesterday. They lost Mike Gesicki yesterday. They were without their top 3 running backs and don't know if any of those guys are going to be available. So basically, they relied by the end of the game yesterday. It was just for the field goal drive that made me so happy. And it did. Lynn Bowden, the rookie that they didn't even draft him. Remember, the Raiders dumped him after he did something off the field. Lynn Bowden, the rookie Malcolm Perry, and Mac Hollins, who's a veteran who might have, I don't even know how many catches he has in his NFL career, but he's no starter. Those are the receivers by the end of the ball game. So significant concerns. Tua rolled his ankle yesterday's ball game. Their offensive issues in Miami. All that said, my number's higher. My number's been higher on the Dolphins for months. All it's done is pay dividends. And the markets keep saying the stats for Miami are no good. Matthew Slater quote from the Patriots. I picked this quote because it was important to find a veteran leader on that team talking about how New England's approaching their season. The Patriots aren't going to the playoffs with the loss to L.A. They're not going to have a winning season with the loss to L.A. Matthew Slater, quote, "This is new." And, of course, he's a Pro Bowl special teams player who's done all the little things for Belichick for like years and years. Quote, "This is new territory for me as a pro. I'm trying to take it in stride. My message to the guys is we have to finish what we start. There's going to be things in life that you start. You can envision them going a certain way, and you don't go that way. That's a part of life. You have to find a way to finish what you started. And hopefully at the end of that, you're a better man, a better woman for it. I'm going to encourage the guys to keep fighting to the finish and represent ourselves in the best way possible." Is that a quote that gives you confidence the Patriots are going to come play?
It's middle of the road, not really.
To me, it's not. All right. Yeah, we're going to try, and I hope that we do okay, and I'm going to see if we can get the guys to do something. Cam's been on the bench in back-to-back fourth quarters. They have the weakest receiver tight end group in the NFL, or one of them, and their NFL record streak of 17 straight seasons with at least 10 victories has just ended. Yeah. There will, in my mind, continue to be – we'll see what the injury report looks like for the Dolphins come later in the week, but it's a one-way game for me, as every Dolphins game has been for the better part of the last month, for the better part of the last 2 months, the better part of the last 3 months. It's been a one-way team for me, and it served me and my clients very well.
Very well, Teddy. They're 10-3 ATS, so betting Miami Dolphins so far this season has been a great bet, and New England just sitting at 6-7, both straight up and against the spread. We got Seattle at Washington up next. The Seahawks -5-point road favorites, 43.5 being the total. Talking about the Washington football team playing at home as the division leader, Teddy.
Yeah, and of course, the 10-3 ATS for the Miami. I bet against them week 1, so actually cash going again, and I was wrong in that game, and I cashed a ticket with it, and I learned something from it. It's helped me ever since. But actually cashed on one of their losses as well. So the Dolphins have been they've been my favorite team this year.
And talking about just betting 101, handicapping, sometimes that's the best when you get it, you get your actual bet correct, but you learn something in the process and change it up going forward. I always love doing that, Teddy.
I'm not going to say it's my single favorite thing.
It's up there though.
When you win a bet and you were wrong and that the markets are wrong on this team at the end of the game, you're like, wow, I'm going to get something good. Those are beautiful when they happen.
Because they stay under the radar longer.
Yes, exactly. Because you got the cover, or in the case of week 1, I got the cover with the Patriots betting against Miami. Let's talk Seahawks and Washington football team. Look headline with Seattle -3. My powering number Seattle -3.5. I would probably adjust that up. It doesn't look from the info this morning. It doesn't look like Alex Smith is going to go. And there's a difference between Smith and Dwayne Haskins. There really is.
Oh yeah.
So I would. My number wasn't based on Smith being out. In the info this morning, it looks like Smith's going to be out. So take my number with a grain of salt on Seattle -3. And the market's open 4.5. They already been bet up to 5. I don't know that it's necessarily going to go higher. Washington the team just won 3 consecutive games as an underdog. And Seattle was coming off a loss yesterday. They're now, 34-15. Worth noting, next time they come off a loss, Seahawks 34-15 off a loss. How about this? Seahawks, since drafting Russell Wilson, league best 25-10 straight up, 22-11 ATS record playing in the Eastern time zone. Russell Wilson coming off the loss after the game. Quote, We took on the challenge, kept our heads down just to stay focused on what we need to do on our execution. It was a great day today. It's worth noting there was even a Geno Smith sighting in that ballgame after Wilson threw for 4 more touchdowns, give him a career high before sitting in the fourth quarter. So he is a little bit of extra rest for this. Washington falls behind every week, and yet they find ways to, betting against Washington the first quarter has been really, really profitable. They've gotten off the slow starts every time. They only gained 193 yards on 14 drives. They gained 3.1 yards per play yesterday. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone, and they scored 0 offensive touchdowns, and they won going away. Easy peasy. That tells us that you have a defense that's making plays. Okay, and that's exactly what they're doing. Chase Young, after the game, we're not done yet. I like to think, what would Kobe do? He wouldn't be smiling. He's put his head down and keep working until he achieved what he wanted to achieve. That's the vibe of the team right now. We're not satisfied. It feels good because we're seeing flashes of what we talked about early in the season. The only thing is keep going. We can't let up. Bet on quote from Washington, although I can tell you right now, if there's no Alex Smith this week, and I don't know there will be, the money will come for Seattle.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Hot 78% in the NFL the last 5 weeks. Also in college football the last 4 weeks, hitting 69%. Guys, this 5%, 63% in the NFL for the full season, up over 60%. He just hit his 5% play in the NFL. Check him out, WagerTalk or SportsMemo.com. It is $9 Monday. Teddy, I can see you chomping at the bit here.
Yeah, I forgot to update that. I didn't update their percentage after the win yesterday. I think it's 67% now for the season. And with the 5%ers, they've been pretty good. And again, lucky as squat yesterday with Miami. They were not the right side, but I'll take the concept of the game is that the Dolphins were undervalued and the Chiefs were overvalued, and I'll stand by that concept. The final score proves it.
Well, Teddy, I mean, through the back door in the fourth quarter, that's not necessarily lucky. That's part of the handicap, right?
No, my handicap was. So I got a lot of that right. All right. I said this is the game where KC just wants to win and get out of town. Mm-hmm. I said this is the defense that Mahomes is going to struggle against. And Mahomes threw more picks yesterday than he's thrown all season. All right. But with all of that, the score was 30-10, and I was dead. I was dead in that game. The game, the way it played out worked out very surprisingly to me. I didn't think Miami was going to would be able to come from behind, especially the fact that all the receivers got hurt during the game. And the fact that Kyle Van Noy, who I thought was going to play on defense, wasn't in. There was the bunch of stuff that didn't happen that I thought was going to happen. But the bottom line is the way that it happened, I was part right, but the fundamental concept behind that bet was Miami is an undervalued commodity. They continue to be an undervalued commodity. KC is an overvalued commodity. They continue to be an overvalued commodity. And that's the only reason I cashed. Because if the line came out where it should have come out, like I thought, 4.5, doesn't cash.
Hey, they all pay the same, Teddy. So, guys, he's up for 65% with his top play 5% in the NFL. Check him out both at Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Teddy, a couple more 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here, 2 more to be exact. Chicago at Minnesota up next. We're seeing the Vikings -3 in the hook, kind of -3 in the quarter line is what you've taught me to say. 46 being the total, Teddy. Yeah,
and of course, and this is one of those games where I don't have a sense of where this line is going to be. So for an emergency betting alert, if it's one side or the other, you're like, you gotta get it now. In this situation, find a 3 if you like Minnesota. Find a 3.5 if you like the Bears. Bet it now. It's not emergency. It's not the line's not moving. But I don't know if this line's going to settle. It is a legit 3.25 right now. Look ahead line here was Minnesota -6.5. Look at the respect for the Bears off the 1 win and the 1 loss for the Vikings. My number 3.5, and the market's right there this morning. And look, what I say last week, right here on the show, I'm like, I wrote the offense is better with Trubisky, and then at the end of the game, the Bears found a way to lose. The offense is better with Trubisky. I mean, it helps when David Montgomery's ripping off 80-yard touchdown runs. It helps when Allen Robinson is a beast. But the Bears gained 6.9 yards per play yesterday and 169 rushing yards on the ground, and Trubisky had a clean game. And Khalil Mack roared back to life. with a safety and a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. The Bears defense had their best game in some time with 7 sacks. All of a sudden, Chicago's got life again. And Trubisky, you don't want to say it too loudly, but Trubisky's been their best option in recent weeks. And meanwhile, Dalvin Cook rushed for 102 yards against the league's best rushing defense. The Vikings had the ball for nearly twice as long. In fact, Minnesota now has 2 losses this season where they've had time of possession for at least 39 minutes. No team in the NFL even has 1 loss in those type of games. So, Minnesota, obviously Dan Bailey was a big story yesterday. The last player with 3 missed field goals and a missed extra point without a make of either, John Aveni for Washington in 1961. Bailey, of course, entered Week 14 as the 6th most accurate kicker in NFL history. Now he's likely to be cut because it's back-to-back games, and that means that Minnesota's got kicker issues. Maybe there's a buy sign on Chicago right now. I can only look at the Bears in this one. The Vikings have not done well this year in the home favorite role, despite years of success in that role in previous years under Mike Zimmer.
Good stats there, Teddy. Holding the ball for 39 minutes of possession and losing 2 games. No other team has lost 1. You also threw out a great stat since Seattle drafted Russell Wilson. They're 22-11 in the Eastern time zone. I like that one as well, man.
No, I do my research for the show, brother.
It's showing, bro.
It's a long night, man. The midnight oil's burning.
Guys, if you're liking the content, please smash the like button. If you're watching on replay, that's cool too. Please drop a comment below and hit the like button as well. Also, Periscope on Twitter. If you're liking the content, please smash the like button. It does help us out as we head to Baltimore here with the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, Baltimore playing tonight. We're recording this 10 a.m. Pacific each and every Monday. So it's a little bit of a limited marketplace here, Teddy, with 46 being the prevailing total and seeing minus 13. That's the Ravens at home.
Yeah, this will all depend on what tonight's game looked like. Look ahead line was 11. My powering number is 11.5. But the Jags, the Jags are pretty rough right now. there's not a whole lot of way to say about it. I saw last night Doug Marrone wouldn't say who his starting quarterback was going to be. Yesterday, Mike Glennon got benched and Gardner Minshew came in. And Minshew was better. Minshew's quote after the game, it's something that I really missed. I missed the camaraderie with the guys. I missed being out there. As much as you're part of the team, there's just something different when you're out there with the guys. It's always special. Of course, the Jags had 5 first downs and 99 total yards of offense in Glennon's 7 drives. And Minshew led him to a touchdown. But, too little, too late for a bad team and a bad defense. Baltimore, if the Ravens look good tonight, if they smack around Cleveland, this is likely to open in the 14 range. If the Ravens look bad tonight and Cleveland smacks them around, it's still likely to open in the 13. Maybe it's 12.5 instead of 13.5 or 14. But we're not going to see the markets fall in love with Jacksonville this week.
Teddy, we got 361, 362, the rotation number up next. Sunday nighter here. Cleveland at the New York Football Giants, seeing the Browns playing tonight, so a limited marketplace. Mostly three in the hook, minus 3.5 here, 44.5 being the total. Worth
noting the time change on this. This is the Sunday night affair, right? Mm-hmm. So this was originally supposed to be the Dallas game. Dallas San Fran was Sunday night, but this has been flexed out into that Sunday night affair. Another TV appearance for the Browns. Look ahead line was Cleveland minus 3. My power rating numbers, Cleveland a minus 2. I don't know if that's right. Maybe the Giants had that winning streak snapped yesterday. You don't want to overreact to it, but the offense was shut out 2nd week in a row. There was really bizarre play calling in that game. And Danny Jones was, 11 of 21 for 127 yards, 2 fumbles, sacked 6 times. He clearly wasn't healthy and wasn't ready to go. The run game got stuffed. And again, we talked last week about how they'd run for 100 yards plus in 7 straight weeks. Didn't happen. Jones, worth noting, Jones now has 28 fumbles in his first 25 career games. The only quarterback in the Super Bowl era with more, and he was bad. That would be Tony Banks. Might be before your time. But Tony Banks for the Rams and many other teams had his share of struggles. But again, if Cleveland looks good tonight, we're looking at 3.5, 4s. It could be, it could be more, but I don't know if it's gonna skyrocket. Interesting game.
Cleveland. So you think it was worth the flex into the Sunday nighter?
Yeah, I absolutely.
Okay. We got Philadelphia at Arizona up next. Looks like 47.5 being the total, with the Arizona Cardinals laying 6.5 at home.
Look headline was Philly -6.5. My powering number is Philly -5.5. The markets have moved towards Philly already today. Towards Arizona already today. And that has a lot to do with, the continuing issues for Philadelphia. This time it's the secondary, okay? It's bad when you talk about cluster injuries for the Eagles. 3/4 their secondary went down yesterday. The cornerback Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox got hurt. Safety Rodney McLeod got hurt. Defensive lineman Malik Jackson got hurt. Defensive lineman Derek Barnett got hurt. Sweat got hurt. The defense managed 5 sacks, 12 quarterback hits, and held the Saints to 21 points, was a match the season low, and all of these guys got hurt. Much of what happened, when Jalen Hurts ran for 106 yards, threw for 167. Miles Sanders had 115 yards and a pair of scores. They snapped their 4-game skid. They ran for a season high. And it was all New Orleans. New Orleans just didn't show. I'm not going to give Philly too much credit. The injury defensively, again, for an injury-riddled team, are bad. Now, Sean Payton's quote after the game stands out. When a team rushes for 250 yards, not a lot of good things can happen. But I'll say this, Hurts was impressive just watching him. I thought he played with poise, made some throws. He was smart. He did good jobs. Sanders after the game, quote, he played awesome, man. The tape speaks for itself. He's so confident. He's a natural leader. We just needed that. He gave us that spark starting from last week against the Packers. So it's certainly some positive feel for Philly after a really, really rough time. But on the other hand, Arizona's come off their best game in a month. They allowed 30-plus points 4 times the previous 6 games, and they were pretty dominant defensively yesterday. Cardinals are 7-1 this season when Murray runs at least 10 times. He ran for 13 times in yesterday's ball game, which tells us he's getting healthier than he was. And, of course, DeAndre Hopkins got back in the fold. 136 yards on 9 catches. That was his first 100-yard game since week 10. And remember, Arizona dominated the game. They were just 2 of 7 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. You don't like that from your favorites. That could be a concern against a Philly defense that had been playing really well. But, again, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts is a leader. Yes, Jalen Hurts is a quarterback against Arizona. Not so much.
Well, Teddy, a little spark there offensively. We also got some questions here in the chat box on where Wentz will find himself next year. What do you think happens with this quarterback situation?
People ask me all the time about where a quarterback's going to go, where this free agent's going to sign. This is my answer. I have no freaking idea. Okay, I could care less. This is what I like to do. All right. Once he gets signed by somewhere, I will tell you how good a fit he's going to be with that team, or they want to be betting on them or against them. But in terms of where players are going to move and why they move there, I have no insight. You have no insight. The beat writers have no insight. That's all. Nobody has any insight. Players make decisions based on their own personal metrics. Where do I want to live? Where do I want to go? What am I going to do? And honestly, I'm not convinced Philly's going to be able to get rid of that contract. If I had to bet where he'd be next year, I would say Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'd be right there with you, just because they already paid him so much money and they owe him so much money. Who's going to take that on? But back to where we what people are watching for. They betting advice, not where somebody's going to end up next year. Good call there, Teddy. We got Kansas City, New Orleans 51.5 with the Chiefs -3.5 point road favorites.
So if I had insight, I'd love to give you guys I think Wentz will end up here. But I'm not going to sit and look at the other 31 teams and go, well, he's going to be a good fit there. No, that's a waste of time. Tell me where he lands. But it's not an inside situation. Can we get the doodly-oop, please?
Doodly-oop. Betting alert.
Just makes me laugh every time. Look, headline here was 3. My powering number is 4. The markets were at 4 last night. They have moved to 3.5 this morning. There is still a good handful of 4s out there. If you like the Saints, plus the 4, find one now. They will not be there, I don't think, a few hours from now. So New Orleans +4. Again, there's not a ton of them out there. All right. But there are enough out there to say you can find one and bet it because they're not going to be there. For Kansas City, I mean, when it's working, that offense is defense proof. Nobody's going to stop it. If you watch them, yes, I mean, the Dolphins defensively played as well against the Chiefs as you can play. They forced 4 turnovers. They forced Mahomes into 3 interceptions. And KC's still there. They're still hanging 30. And off a slow start, they overcame a double-digit deficit and 4 turnovers in a flat spot on the road. And of course, they clinched the AFC West title, their 5th consecutive AFC West title. Patrick Mahomes, after the game, quote, "I've been lucky enough to be around an organization that's been able to win the AFC West every year I've been here, but I still appreciate it every single time. KC has now won 10 in a row on the road." That's a team a record. And of course, they were getting Mahomes off his worst showing. And the Saints were flat as a pancake yesterday. Taysom Hill now has 10 fumbles this season. He's lost 5 of them. That's not a good sign necessarily. They had 9 straight wins. They had a huge game against KC. They were off a division win, and they were flat. This is a Saints team that hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 55 games, including the playoffs. They had the NFL's #1 rush defense heading into yesterday's game, allowing just 76 points per yards per game on the ground. And they gave up not 1, but 2 100-yard rushers in that contest. Sean Payton clearly didn't play one of our better games today. We didn't do a good enough job as coaches, starting with myself, blah, blah, blah. After the quote, everyone's saying, we looked flat, not our standard of football. Taysom Hill, this one does sting a little bit because we knew it was at stake and we worked really hard to put ourselves in a situation, blah, blah, blah. The money's kind of come for New Orleans. It already has. If you like the Saints, grab a +4 sooner rather than later.
Teddy, 2 games left here. I believe this is the game that did get flexed out of the Sunday nighter. San Francisco at the Dallas Cowboys, 45.5 being the total. Looks like San Fran -2.5 point road favorites.
Yeah, they're 3 starting to pop up right now. And I would anticipate we may see more. We've already seen nothing but 49ers money. I wouldn't be shocked if we see more Niners money. Because this one's already moved so much, we should still, let's doodly-oop it. We got to, because it feels like it's going to 3.
Doodly-oop, emergency betting alert.
Yeah, San Fran -2.5. If you like the Niners, bet them sooner rather than later. The Dallas Cowboys off a big resounding win yesterday. Dallas is 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread off a win this year. You read the quotes after the game, it's all about Andy Dalton, Mike McCarthy. This is definitely special for him. Make no bones about it. He wanted to win this game, but more importantly for everyone in the locker room, they wanted to win it for him. So Dallas gets a big win over a Cincinnati team, and they're all fired up about it. Yeah. Of course, last Tuesday, Baltimore ran for 294 yards against the Cowboys. Bengals came into the game with a 30th ranked run offense, and they cracked the century mark against the Cowboys, and they didn't even have Joe Mixon in the game. But this is more about what San Fran's going to look like. There are issues for San Fran. Mullins looked like a stiff again yesterday. They're 0-7 this season when went down at the half, one of 5 teams in the NFL not to have a single second-half comeback. They only gave up 12 first downs and 193 total yards, and yet they weren't in the game. Okay? That tells you about the turnover problems on offense. They had a pick 6 yesterday. They had a fumble 6 yesterday. And it's the 7th consecutive game which the 49ers have turned the ball over at least twice. Yeah, that's the team that's a road favorite that's getting bet up against the Dallas team that, oh, by the way, if the Cowboys went out, they're every bit as live to win the NFC East as anybody else. And their schedule is easier. There's dumber bets to make than Dallas to win that division.
Teddy, I mean, it's the worst division, but to tell you the truth, it's my favorite race down the stretch here, watching what's going to happen in the NFC East. Yeah. We got the Monday Nighter guys to finish it off here. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. We got the Steelers -12.5 or -13 point road favorites, 41 being the total in Cincinnati.
Look ahead line. I'm sorry, I think I gave a look ahead line for San Fran Dallas. Look ahead line in that game was -2.5. My powering number there is only -1, and the markets are 2 to 2.5 up to 3 today. For Pittsburgh Cincinnati, the look ahead line was 11.5. My powering number is only 10.5. And the markets are 12.5 up to 13 today. And I understand why. I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone for any reason to get their money on Cincinnati right now. Okay, they're the Jets in the Midwest. The first team since the Patriots in 2013 to open a game with 3 lost fumbles on their first 3 drives yesterday. Worth noting, the Pats won that game where they lost the first 3 fumbles on the first 3 drives, 34-31. Since he didn't come back and win theirs. You know, you had Brandon Allen at quarterback, and Brandon Allen was pretty good. But he also was limping around. By the 4th quarter, he was out of gas. They have all kinds of skills and talent. And here's a crazy. The Browns had 29 drives of 10 plays or more this year. That's in the top quartile of the NFL. But we saw it a million times. And yesterday, maybe not a million times, but the yards just don't convert into points. You had a Bernard fumble 6, and you had in the red zone another fumble after a good long drive. More yards, more first downs, more time of possession than Dallas yesterday, and they were blown out in the game, only finished with 7 points. And then Allen hurt his leg, and Ryan Finley replaced him, and we don't know what the status of the QBs is. And the Bengals' offensive line is a disaster, and there's no downfield passing, but all of Allen's 36 pass attempts yesterday, 31 of them were for 10 air yards or less. He's just dinking and dunking. It's a bad offense and an injury-riddled defense. For Pittsburgh, quote, Ben Roethlisberger, we've lost 2. We're facing some adversity, but we're not hitting the panic button. Offensively, we're not very good. We're not playing good football, and it starts with me. I think it's a team that's got a lot of resilience, that understands what it takes to win football games, understands what time of year it is. And right now, it's unacceptable. The Steelers have been held to under 20 points in 3 straight games. The rushing attack doesn't working. They were 1 of 10 on third downs because the defense hadn't stopped a whole lot of third down conversions coming into the game. Roethlisberger and his receivers are not on the same page. We had drops galore again yesterday. DeAndre Johnson was there. They got James Conner back. It didn't matter. The running game still didn't work. Pittsburgh has issues. And for a team that won their first 11 games, the markets are tapping the brakes pretty heavily on the Steelers right now, although not against Cincinnati. This not one of the more attractive Monday Night Football matchups on paper.
He's Teddy Covers. Check him out, Wager Talk or sportsmemo.com. He's hot in the NFL the last 5 weeks. Also up over 65% in his 5% full season in the NFL. And guys, my favorite stat, since week 1 of 2015, he's hitting 57% in the NFL. So he's beaten the NFL betting markets long-term. He obviously knows his NFL. Check him out, sportsmemo or wagertalk.com. Also a reminder here, it's $9 Monday, all plays discounted to just $9. Teddy, anything you wanted to throw out there before we shut this down?
Whew, I want to exhale for a minute, man.
All right.
I'm trying. Thank you, guys. Look, we really appreciate all the likes, all the comments. Only thing, if you like the show, please tell your friends. That's all I can ask. You know, if you think it's a good show, you think you get some good info, help spread the word. And other than that, enjoy the games this week. Good luck. And I don't know. What else do I got? Nothing.
All right. Well, yeah, you said a lot. You deserve to exhale and take a break here, guys. Appreciate you joining us live. To everybody in the chat box, Lauren, Jeff, Kevin, Johnny Outlaw, all you guys, Moneymaker, Tony. Appreciate you guys joining. Again, if you're watching on replay, please drop a comment below and smash the like button, no matter what avenue you're listening on. YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, it all works, guys. So for Teddy, I'm Drew. Best of luck with your bets, guys, and we'll be back next Monday, 10:10 a.m. Pacific time. So